Hey guys, I wanted to come into the space to chat with you a little bit. As a men's life coach and as someone who works with men, I wanted to really have a conversation. And if you're out there and you can join us, I'd love to hear what you would do if you were in Will Smith's shoe. I hear a lot of conversations happening, and we're forgetting that Will Smith was not the only guy that was involved. There was also uh, Chris, all right, and so here we have two brothers. These guys have been in show business for many years. Okay, Chris, we know Chris. He's a comedian. He tries to do his part as best as he can when he's on stage to keep the crowd happy. This time, however, the crowd was happy, but then along comes Will Smith, and he was not able to control himself. We saw in the end, he expressed those emotions, he apologized, he went through all of that process that is expected, because hey, he's a movie star, he has an image to protect. And what I talk about is, as men, how do we learn to control that ego more? And I'm not saying if I were in Will Smith's shoes, maybe I would not have done the same thing, because to be in it is a different thing from when you're not in it. But if you're learning and practicing healthy ways to manage your emotions before, quote unquote, a crisis like that happens, then you will be a lot less reactive when those situations happen. And yes, I know some of you may be watching this and saying, this guy is hitting Will too hard. No, I'm not hitting Will. I'm saying I could have been in the same position if it were me. And yes, yeah, yeah, Rolando, I know you're not Will Smith, so get over it. I hear you. But all I'm talking about is the idea that as we continue to grow as men, we have to constantly work on ourselves. So here are some questions that I'd like you to think about. Uh, if you were saying, hey, good for Will, he's defending his woman, that's what a real man does. I'd like you to sort of tell me why that is the stance that you take. If you're saying, hey, you know what, Will, he's a movie star, he's an actor, he a lot of people are looking up to him. And if you're saying, Will should have known better, I'd like to hear from you. I'd like you to comment as well. Because this decision seems to be split. Some people are saying, good for you, you're defending your wife. That's what real men do. Some people are saying, hey, you should be more responsible, you should be more mature and not do that. Then some people are saying, hey, what, the guy made a mistake. He came back forward, he apologized, he tried to make amends, he apologized to Oscar, he apologized to all the committee. And guess what? All of that is great. But the image has still been marred. Whether we accept it or not, it's still been marred. But let's talk about Chris Rock. Look at how Chris Rock responded to it. I don't know if I were in Chris Rock's position, maybe I wouldn't have, wanted to give Will a right or a left job after that. But Chris Rock, somehow, this guy, he seems to be very, very in control of his emotions, because he never reacted. He kept his cool. Maybe he'll react later, through whatever mediums they use, those movie stars, those big popular people in Hollywood. But he never reacted to that. He controlled himself, he maintained his composure, and maybe other things happened behind the scenes. But as we look at healthy masculinity and how even those known figures, those movie icons, those people who are loved, who has thousands or millions of followers, do you notice that when crisis comes, even in those moments, even those guys, they're not perfect, which is why we continue to make this huge, huge proclamation that personal development is not an event, it's a lifestyle. Okay? Now, when Will made his comment there, the comment that he made when he collected his Oscar, notice what he said Denzel said to him. He said that Denzel said to him that when you're at your highest point, that's when the devil shows up. No, that's another level of conversation altogether. And Denzel Washington, we know he's a spiritual guy. He sticks close to what he believes. He practices, Christianity. He practices his faith, and he made that known to uh to Will. Will that be something that Will is going to remember, or this will all blow off eventually, and he forgets and goes back to business as usual? Or will Will Smith be strong enough and bold enough to say, hey, whatever that Denzel meant by that, I probably need to do some more research to see what exactly that meant, if he doesn't know what it means. But all in all, the entire conversation here that we're having is seeking to hear from you. What would you do if you were in Will Smith's shoe? Now let's look at his wife, Jada. Okay, is that what Jada expected Will to do? Or did she expect Will to go and talk with Chris and say, hey, you know what? You made my wife feel uncomfortable today. I would appreciate if you, go back and offer to her a public apology or something like that, versus her expecting him to go up there and smack this guy. He stepped out of line. So did Will Smith do that because that's what his wife expected? Did he do it because he was acting on impulse? What made him do that? Did he have something against Chris Rock previously? I don't know, guys. I'm just speculating. But I'm just here to say there are so many different angles to look at this. We're not quite sure what conversations he and Jada had before he walked up. We're not sure if there was something going on between himself and Chris Rock before, and he saw this as a great time to, be the star once again, and show Chris Rock who was quote unquote boss. It could be a display of the fact that Will Smith needs to do some more personal work on himself to manage those emotions, and be able to even say to his wife, hey, honey, I see that hurts, but hey, let's deal with it a more diplomatic way. We don't know, but the truth is what we saw that happened in the Oscars a couple of days ago is just another representation of how, as men, we have to constantly be in tune with our emotions. We have to learn to not be as reactive, or make impulsive decisions rather. And we have to continue to explore and connect and reflect and ask ourselves questions about where we are and why we're doing what we're doing. But guys, listen, these are my few thoughts here, and I want you to think about it. If you were in Will Smith's shoe, what would you have done? Would you do the same thing? Would you have done it differently? If so, what? I'd like to hear your comment as you watch this video. Guys, thank you for joining us here on our live, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.